Welcome to Meet Me at the Wall. A podcast exploring author Anne Goodwin's time-traveling journey after discovering hundreds of letters written to her grandmother over a century ago. We visit the space where fact meets fiction, truth fosters imagination, and delve into the past while keeping an eye on how lessons from history affect us today and even tomorrow. Someone else want to kick this off instead of me every time?
No, that's your job.
Occasionally you have. Well, here we are arguing about who should start this episode. Good thing I've been recording because we just started.
All right,
I know.
do.
Yes, and this is just a continuation of episode 4 with John Gurda. So we're not going to add a whole lot here other than just to dive right back in.
Let's do it.
Let's go. John, I have a question going back to what you were talking about, the outdoor leave stations and pull your coaster to receive commodities. That was during the Depression?
Yes, yep.
And then we went into World War II, and wasn't that then a time of rationing?
Yeah, absolutely. But then it was trying to, again, grain was rationed. You weren't. The people still made beer. Milwaukee Brewery still made beer, but there was try to
thank goodness
sort of divert or concentrate production, for the military effort. And there was a huge effort here, and it wasn't just here. The Victory Gardens, they would almost any place you had sort of new subdivisions. So the construction was halted because the war effort was diverting all the supplies. So you have these subdivisions that became almost small-scale farms. People, it was all private. The people were all doing their own gardens. So there was a strong sense that the war at home was essential to be won as well as the war abroad, and just this propaganda machine. Kind of the posters and the radio ads and the announcements in theaters, selling war bonds or buying war bonds. Just a huge campaign for those. So it was a strong appeal to patriotism, and people responded. It was obviously an existential threat to democracy and world peace, very clearly.
It was a unifying event.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
So we talked about the need to increase production of certain manufactured goods in order to prepare for the war. So all of this was a big gear up, and then the men went to war. Mm-hmm. What happened then to all of these factories? And can you talk maybe about the role of women during World War II and how that was maybe a first-time effort on their part?
Absolutely, yeah. These were defense vital industries, so you could be in a defense plant and be deferred because you were just as vital to make the stuff here, as you would have been in the front lines. So that was, in a sense, a deferment for defense. But still, you have all these guys going overseas, and you have, it's hard to believe. I think by 44, and this probably tracks nationally, but 1944, about 25% of the manufacturing workforce in Milwaukee was female. So it was not a majority, but in some plants it was a majority. There was a plant in part of Alice Chalmers here that made superchargers to make it easier for bombers to fly at high altitudes where the oxygen was thin. And that was, I think, 78% women. And they were stereotyping, but they were prized for their dexterity, kind of the fine motor. So that was something that they were kind of sought after, but there's one woman named Teresa Langhoff. I've got a photograph of her in the Making Milwaukee book. She was the champion welder in the chain belt shop and said, I can do a job as well as any man. So it was kind of in some ways, kind of early wave feminism going on.
This is the Rosie-the-Riveter campaign, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there was in Milwaukee's case, there was I'm sure this was national as well, but there was such a shortage of manpower that industries actually went door to door. They knocked on doors looking for women to work in the defense plants. So it was gives you some notion of how desperate the need for workers was.
Interesting. Thank you.
Well, John, we've already gone, I think, over the time I told you we would take of yours, but we appreciate it. You're very easy to talk to and learn from.
Well, you've got a treasure trove there, obviously, and I'm glad you're sharing it with others.
Yeah, we're having fun. I love the time travel aspect.
I was just going to bring that up because I listened to an interview with you, John, and you mentioned a couple of ideas or concepts of the time travel and then also historical imagination.
And that's what
and
we're
I think
all
that's
about.
Exactly what we're all about.
Yeah,
Kindred spirits.
As you found, it's addictive.
It is.
Oh, yeah. These two, clearly, they get together regularly to do deep dives, spend some time in the office going through things. And what's amazing, John, is things will just pop out to them. If they're looking for a certain letter, they may find it. They may find something else that leads them down a different path. As you said, all the rabbit holes. And they really enjoy it. And I love getting together with them and learning.
Oh, good. Well, you've chosen your ancestors well.
Oh, well, John, thank you so much. Wish you the very best and appreciate your time.
You're most welcome, and best of luck as the journey continues.
Thanks so much. Meet us at the wall.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, okay, so long.
Right, bye-bye.
Wow.
That was great.
Awesome.
John is a gem of a person. He's personable, friendly, helpful.
That's awesome.
I could have kept going.
But that was perfect. And so many things fit in with the stories we're covering in this episode and probably the next about this period of time. And the letters that you've curated touch on many of these little things that he just mentioned. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely. That was a lot of fun. I think when we were talking to John about discovery and the tangents that you go down, one of the discoveries that I had that I read via a Red Cross newsletter that was from Fort Worth, Texas, written in 1941 or 42. And I wrote about this in my blog, and it's called Happy Valentine's Day, Jeffrey. And I'd like to share it with you because it just shows the glimpse of history that we get and then the rabbit hole that it sent me down.
And the unfolding of it and learning. Okay, thank you.
So, Happy Valentine's, Jeffrey. And who is Jeffrey? I don't know, at least not yet, but more likely never will. I did send him a Valentine of sorts today, and predictably, it has something to do with my time travel expedition absorbing my grandmother's treasure trove of personal correspondence dating back to 1903. The other day, I realized I held in my hand notes beautifully written by the hands of two of my maternal great-great-grandmothers. Notes to their granddaughter, my grandmother, when she was a young woman, providing me with loving lenses through which to see her. But all this has nothing to do with Jeffrey. Today, I came across in my perusal of a packet of letters dated in the 1930s and 40s, a 1944 newsletter written for the Ladies of the Red Cross based in Fort Worth, Texas during World War II. It was easy to see why Keep was written across the top, since a paragraph marked in the margin listed my mother and grandmother as volunteer package wrappers for the troops. I started to move it to the red side of my table when I decided to read further the news of the day. That's when I found it, my pearl. An announcement of a radio show spotlighted their upcoming guest, a pilot in the South Pacific Air Transport Command. On this pilot's first combat flight, he transported precious high-test gasoline to Guadalcanal, surrounded the whole time by aggressive Japanese aircraft. His return mission carried even more precious cargo. 23 gravely wounded soldiers. Due to the overloading of his craft, no medical personnel were able to accompany the troops. So the pilot not only flew through rough, inclement weather, but also administered medical care as he commandeered them all back to safety. Enter the rabbit hole of researching further this incredible flying ace. I discovered through his obituary that he was only 22 years old when he flew his heroic mission. It occurred to me that perhaps thousands of Valentines being celebrated today may never have happened if those 23 soldiers had not been lifted to well-being and basically to the rest of their lives. do any of their offspring know their debt of gratitude owed to this man? Hopefully, I found his offspring. I made a copy of the newsletter and posted it through the USPS with a brief note of explanation to his grandson, Jeffrey. I felt reading the obituary that he may have been a humble man, one not likely to speak of his heroic actions. Happy Valentine's Day, Jeffrey. Cheers to your grandpa.
Amazing, really beautiful. And to think, like you said, of all the families and people in Valentine's that are being sent now that are descendants of those 23 soldiers.
And that young combat pilot was 22 years old.
Wow.
That just absolutely stunned me that he had such a huge mission and he did it successfully. And he was giving medical help to his passengers while piloting. Just that's a glimpse of a moment in the war that just speaks of such bravery.
It does. Did you ever hear from the grandson?
I never did.
Okay. All right, Anne. Well, you prepared another sketch for us this week.
I did.
And this one's kind of cool. I don't know. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to cue the music.
Curious Nancy, August 1944, Titusville, Pennsylvania. Florence leaves Nancy's hospital room and heads towards the elevator. She hesitates before entering, always a bit fearful of the outcome, either getting off at the wrong floor or a slight snag going up or down, but she moves forward eager for a change of scenery. She pokes the ground floor button and heads off in search of the cafeteria. 2 hot dogs without buns later, she pushes her plate away and takes out her stationery pack and writing pen. Dear Benj, I'm not sure who has it harder right now, you in the Army or me managing the home front. Thank you for speaking to Dick about holding off on the solo flights until he receives more instruction. I know he is keen on getting certified for the Civil Air Brigade. Lord knows he consumes everything airplane-related every waking hour. Why did I buy him all those toy airplanes? Today's letter is about Nance, though. I know my telegram yesterday must have come as a shock. I can now fill you in on the details since your telephone time seems limited these days. Nancy has been feeling punk for a while. I am mortified that I did not take her complaints seriously. I just wished them away and glibly assumed it was nothing serious, but it was serious, and we ended up in the emergency room Monday night. Nancy was diagnosed with an acute appendicitis, and they immediately prepped an operating room for her. Benj, sometimes I wonder who Nancy's real mother is, even though I was present at her birth. She is such a fascinating creature. She insisted on being awake during surgery because she was curious about what they were going to do. They gave her a spinal tap instead of general anesthesia, and Benj, she sang songs, talked, and asked questions during the entire procedure. Then, during recovery, she asked for them to bring her the appendix, and they did, in a jar. Last night in her room, she insisted on painting her nails a garish blue-black. This morning, when the doctor came in on his rounds, he saw Nancy's nails and thought she had died. He started to rush towards her, but fortunately she stirred through the commotion and he realized all is well. Right now, plunge in the ocean and a 10-mile hike through the bogs actually sounds divine, minus the gear, though. I must go bring our darling girl a vanilla milkshake. I, for one, am ready for something a little stronger. Hugs and kisses. Keep safe, my love. Fleur.
Well, thank you, Anne. That's a layup factor historical fiction. It's time for fact or historical fiction. Or historical fiction. Or historical fiction. I called that a layup because that is a crazy story. This is a, 15-year-old?
15-year-old.
And she wanted to stay away. Is this fact or historical fiction?
This is fact. My mother was a very curious Nancy. And she studied chemistry and majored in chemistry in college, so she was definitely in her wheelbox of interest during her appendicitis. And happily, I have all of the evidence to prove that it's a true story because we have letters from Fleur to Benj and a telegram describing the whole scene.
Wasn't Nancy even disappointed that during the surgery there wasn't a mirror?
Yes,
so that she could watch.
She had requested one.
Oh, my goodness. So this is not something you would typically see happening today, I wouldn't think. Certain surgeries you need to stay awake for.
I think people are staying more awake.
Are they?
Because
Okay.
general anesthesia is so much more, to your body. And I think we're getting a glimpse in history here of ancestry coming to life in the sense of Fleur mentions in letters the wonders of the spinal tap and how the recovery is so much better. So I think, I'm not sure of the history when they were first introduced, but she noted the benefit then.
Wow. I love it. Thank you. Well, let's hear the letter now.
All right. Well, here is my source material for Curious Nancy. This is a letter dated August 7th, 1942, 5 p.m. from Mrs. B.F. Crawford, Titusville, Penna, to First Lieutenant B.F. Crawford, Jr., Hotel Roosevelt, New Orleans, Louisiana. Friday. Benj, darling. Well, such excitement yesterday at lunch. Nance didn't feel well, but nothing very bad. I had to play a golf match with M. McKinney, which I lost, thank goodness, and no more golf to think of. Nance went down to play tennis. She only played a few minutes, too. When I came home, I found her in bed, so I phoned John. She couldn't play in another mixed foursome they were having with KW and Jean M. late that afternoon. Then I called Dr. Hazen about 5:30, and after poking here and there, he called Dr. Anderson over. They decided to take a blood count at 7:30 and found it was 14,000 instead of 10,000. I didn't know the results of the count until Dr. H came back about 9 p.m. George and Jeanette were here. He consulted Dr. Anderson again, and they advised bringing Nancy to the hospital and then taking another count to see if it was down. Nancy really felt quite perky and was laughing and giggling, particularly when Dr. Hazen advised getting an ambulance. He was afraid she would be sick in the car sitting up. So over came Mr. Cummins and Mr. Musser, and off Nancy and I went in the ambulance, wondering what the neighborhood would think. George and Jeanette followed in their car. Well, Dr. Arler took another blood count, which was then 16,000, so nothing to do but operate. All doctors advised it, and I knew you would want to do what they thought best. By that time, it was 10:30. Nancy said she would like a spinal anesthetic, and Dr. A said fine, really left it up to him what to give. So she had a hypo in her room and was quite drowsy, but still smiling when she went up in the elevator. Dr. Hagen said she was simply fine all during the operation. She kept track of the time, and it just took half an hour. Marion and Jeanette were there, too. Her appendix was only a little inflamed at one end, better than they thought it might be. As soon as she got back in her room, I came in, too. The difference between ether and a spinal in the condition of the patient after the operation is simply miraculous. I think that's one reason operations always seem so awful when everybody is so terribly sick and unconscious. But not a bit of that with Nance. She was a little dopey, not much, and talked to me at once. Was disappointed because I didn't have a mirror so she could see everything. Then Mrs. Schultz, her night nurse, her private one, brought her appendix in a jar. By that time, it was about 12:30, so at 1, I finally went over to the Hennies and went to bed. George was waiting up with a little refreshment for me in the shape of 4 roses, which just hit the spot. Nancy was asleep when I came over about 9 a.m., but she had not been nauseated even during the night and had some tea for breakfast. I had lunch at Jeanette's, and now at 3 p.m., I am sitting beside Nancy's bed. She has been conversing ever since I started writing you and making suggestions about what to say. Nancy says right now to tell you that in the operating room, Dr. H asked her how her feet felt, and she said they pricked and jingled. So all the nurses and doctors sang Jingle, Jangle, Jingle, which Nancy informs me is a popular song. All sounds much more informal than the usual operation. She has practically no pain, and I only wish you could see how absolutely herself she looks and feels. Of course, does not like getting out of bed, but not at all like I would expect her to feel. It is really wonderful. I know the telegram we sent you this afternoon must have been an awful shock, and I worry about your feelings. Being so far away is so hard for you, but I thought it better to have you know before you found out in the morning. Now, you mustn't worry, because the Hennies and Ray Docs are giving me lots of moral support, and it all happened so quickly, we hardly even knew what it was all about. And Nancy has been so very cheerful all through the whole thing that it keeps me cheery too, or vice versa. She's so afraid you'll be so worried that you'll feel you must change your plans and come up if you can, and we don't want you to do that. Probably couldn't, no matter if you thought you could, because you must get to Fort Worth and stay there no matter what. Of course, this will delay our getting down to see you, but haven't gone in with that with the doctors yet. Peg O'Neill is Nancy's day nurse, and needless to say, she's just what Nancy likes. Right now, Nancy is drinking some hot consomme. I say as long as they already have blood there, she better be typed. We didn't consult you by wire last night, as the doctors thought better not to wait, and I knew you'd agree with us, that it would not worry you quite so much if you knew after it was over, as there was absolutely nothing you could do. Loads of people have called to inquire. Nancy wants her radio, so John is going to bring it up and attach it. Don't worry, we aren't, and you mustn't. Loads of love, darling. Nancy sends hers, and a big kiss. Fleur.
You didn't have to work that hard on that sketch.
No, it's all there.
It was all laid out. Sorry to... No, you did a beautiful job on the sketch, but boy, that is amazing. And so the whole spinal versus ether, and that was, they were figuring that out then too.
That was just the start of it, I think. That's what we were talking about, that there was a new way to do surgery that wasn't so invasive.
So what was this Christmas? I mean, this Jingle Jangle thing, what was that about?
A very popular song that Time called I've Got Spurs That Jingle Jangle Jingle.
Oh, I've got spurs that jingle jangle jingle.
You know that one, don't you?
No, not that well.
You can hum a few bars, right?
Yeah. Well, we might have to put that in the show notes.
So just to continue the correspondence support here with the whole appendicitis, we have a little note from Nancy writing to her father from the hospital. And I want to just share that because I think it sort of shows what the vibe was there.
This is a bonus round.
And it's a little bonus round. Dearest Daddy, according to Mummy, I'm quite sick, but don't feel half bad. I'm told that I should lose weight. Nice, isn't it? Dr. Anderson asked about you today and wondered if we had any pictures of you in uniform. Wasn't it nice of the churches send me flowers? Anna Lynn sent some too, which I thought was awfully kind. Mother loves it up here. She sees all that goes on and hears the gossip too. Never a dull moment. Hope to see you soon. Thanks millions for the nice telegram. I enjoyed it. Love and kisses, Nancy.
How sweet.
So Fleur was having a good time in the hospital.
Yeah, she was at 15. I mean, it's...
No, that was Nancy.
Oh, so sorry. Nancy was at 15. Fleur was, yes.
Fleur enjoyed hanging around the hospital because she got to get in on all the action that was going on there and then also hear the latest gossip.
Yeah,
I love
so
it.
They were having fun.
Got it.
Can I just tell you one funny thing?
Yeah.
So I worked on transcribing these letters over the weekend, and I finally figured out a way to dictate to my word processor. And the first time around, it signed the letter instead of Fleur, Flirt.
Yeah.
Well, I think that could have been another one of her nicknames.
I think so, too.
Definitely.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Something else that keeps coming up in all the letters we've been reading lately between Fleur and Ben is Fort Worth, Fort Worth, Fort Worth. Is that just the next step in his, from training to then being deployed out of Fort Worth or something? Is that where the base is?
That is the next step, yes.
Okay.
He is waiting as a senior class member to get his papers and was informed that it would most likely be Fort Worth, Texas, which it was, and the family moved there.
Okay,
and lived
they
there
moved.
for a couple years.
Okay, so did he stay in the States throughout the war, or do you know?
He did, and there's a story behind that, but I have to do some confirmation. But I think he was very much looking forward to going to Europe to be kind of like a code breaker. But he also had a legal degree, and my grandmother was playing bridge with one of the general's wives and lamented that she didn't want Benj to be sent overseas for the war.
Yeah.
And he was very eager to go be a code breaker. And the friend spoke with her husband, and my grandfather was stationed in Pennsylvania to read legal contracts instead.
So he knows that part of the story too? Okay. I can imagine that was a little... But Fleur got her wish.
We have another glimpse of the war through a friend who we haven't talked about because she will be part of the prequel series. She was a friend of my grandmother's from boarding school. So they were lifelong friends. And her name is Stephanie. And she lives on Park Avenue in New York City at the time of this letter. And Betsy's going to share it with us.
And the prequel, by the way, is going to be season 3, we think.
Correct.
So you'll have to wait for that.
From Mrs. Otto Henry Hafner, 1075 Park Avenue, New York City. To Mrs. B.F. Crawford, Jr., 214 West Spruce Street, Titusville, Pennsylvania, November 26, 1941. Dearest Flo, the list of your activities, especially the rumble lessons, nearly prostrated me. Are you planning to dance with Benny or with Nancy's friends? Just as I look over your letter, I see that you may be going up to see Nancy over the 27th, so my writing you is well-timed as usual. Anyway, I shall be just thrilled if you pop into town this week. Also, I should love to see Galen and Janet again, wherever they are. You are pretty reckless buying new cars right and left. Where do you get the dough? We are feeling a trifle on the depressed side at the moment, having heard yesterday that we have to cough up another 1,000 for 1940's federal tax. A very exciting letter this AM from our dear Brooke Moore, Major, Australian in parentheses, who was one of those who volunteered to remain in Greece to look after the wounded who could not be evacuated. So, he is a prisoner. But well, and he says well treated. It is the first word from him since about April. We are cheering all over the deck. I hope Nancy is all happy and settled in school now. Really, it was tough about Thanksgiving. I think the schools just had to give up trying to figure out what FDR would do about it. Here's hoping you'll arrive in town and that I'll be seeing you. In any case, you might come at Christmas. Much love to you and yours, dear Flo. Fondly, Stephanie.
Here's a little tidbit about Stephanie. During the war, she made it her mission to provide housing for wounded Australian soldiers that were in New York City and became quite involved with their well-being and filled her house with wounded soldiers.
Wow. That is cool. And I'm sorry, I'm just also a little confused by this mention of FDR in the schools. What's that about?
Oh, sure. This was written in 1941. Traditionally, Thanksgiving had been celebrated the last Thursday of November. But FDR decided one year to change Thanksgiving from the last Thursday to the fourth Thursday in November in order to lengthen the holiday shopping season for economic reasons. And it threw everybody into a bit of a tizzy because they didn't know if it was happening, when it was happening, how it would affect school schedules. Some people celebrated Thanksgiving twice that year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, anyway.
So that's the mention in the letter about it. The schools are all mixed up about it. And what's FDR going to do about it?
And I guess it was called Franksgiving.
Franksgiving for Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Right.
Oh. So it resolved to be the fourth Thursday, right? That's
correct.
What we have now.
Yes.
Okay.
And we didn't know we were celebrating Franksgiving.
Franksgiving. I know. That's very good. That's very good. Thank you for another fun little tidbit.
Oh, my gosh.
Out of Betsy. She is a tidbit factory. I love it.
This has been really interesting diving into World War II. It was something that I wasn't looking forward to because there were so many letters and they were so mundane every day writing about, the food in the mess hall or whatever.
Right.
But what we have compiled here and the tangents that we have followed, and it's just been amazing.
Yes, I especially enjoyed our getting to speak with John Gurda. What a wealth of information. Could have gone on forever with him.
We could have, and maybe we'll someday just have an episode just with John. But boy, that was meaningful to hear some details about just that whole period of time. Because you can read it in textbooks. It's not the same as talking to someone about it.
I loved his description about the 30,000-foot viewpoint that we get from the texts and just the general knowledge, but that it's letters that provide that closer view. And that's exactly what's happened with us.
It is. And he had his own letter stories, which were beautiful.
I know.
And amazing. What period were those from?
Well, it was before paper. It was,
so those were some archival. And he was very clear that you need to get your collection to a historical society. So make sure that's provided for. At some point.
They're going to have to build a room.
Well, Yeah, I do think we could digitize them. We could just get really
Go for
disciplined.
it, Doug.
Picture. Well, I'm just talking photos, you know.
You know, when Betsy and I started this project, that was our intent.
It was,
We were going to
yeah.
digitize every letter.
Yeah.
And then we came to the conclusion, these letters are about ink on paper, and that's what makes them so special. And
Yeah.
we would be spending so much time trying to put them in the cloud when really we just needed to read them. And that's how we've left it.
That's true. And then organizing them all after they're digitized. It'd be an interesting project.
Or maybe a project for someone else to do, if you could trust someone
Well,
else.
maybe the Historical Society could do
Right,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, if you're sending them the hard copies, then we don't need to, right?
Right.
That's their work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have to give them up.
All in due time.
Yes. We have more stories to find.
And maybe we'll get to go back to Titusville then.
Okay. Doug, you come too.
I've never been. Yep. I would love to go.
Well,
What
is it
else?
cookie time?
Well, Anne's stomach has spoken, and I think it is about time to start to wrap up.
And that's a wrap.
Poor Anne. This has been a wonderful 2 episodes.
Yes, we've been sitting here for 2 weeks. And I'm hungry.
And it's almost cookie time, but really just reflecting back on everything we've covered here about World War II, we have looked at letters from friends and between Ben and Fleur. We've talked with John Gurda. We've reflected back to our conversations with Frank. I mean, there's so much content here about World War II. And of course, it was a really hard time.
It was, and it almost could have, its own season.
It could have its own
World War
season.
II.
You are right. So then looking forward to our next episode.
World War II continues.
Yes, it does.
Yes, we're going to have a special guest, a fellow Beloiter, Rick McGrath, who has letters and stories. And he's a storyteller.
And we'll
we're
tease that out there, but it continues World War II for the 3rd episode.
Yes. We look forward to having Rick as our guest.
Can't wait.
What's our flavor?
Today is lemon cookies.
Ooh,
yum.
Now, you've had them before, but they're just such a good hit.
We love a repeat.
All right, here we go.
Thanks, Doug.
Bye.
Bye, Betsy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Meet Me at the Wall is hosted by Doug Martinet, Ann Goodwin, and Betsy Schmeeken. Music is written and performed by Alex Vance. This podcast is copyright by Pleasurable Pause Press. Thank you for listening, and we hope you tune in again next time.